As I was packing my things, getting ready to leave for West Point, my fiancée, Bethany, gave me a cool warning. When you get to the academy, settle into your barracks and don't come running to see me every day. I knew she'd be jealous, but I didn't look up, just quietly said, okay. She didn't suspect I'd changed my plans. She continued, and there's no need for us to go get that marriage license on graduation day. That childhood promise doesn't mean anything anymore. I paused for a second, then just nodded obediently. I wouldn't explain. I was going to West Point, hundreds of miles away, and I had given up on her a long time ago, had no more expectations. After all, her goal and mine were the same, to escape each other completely, never to see each other again. Just yesterday, I went to Mr. Johnson, my guidance counselor at Northwood High. Mr. Johnson, I've made my decision. I still plan to attend college, but I want to change my application from the University of Chicago to the cryptology program at West Point. A deep autumn breeze brought a chill. My slender figure stood straight, my gaze unusually determined. Mr. Johnson was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed. David, finally you've seen the light. I thought you were going to give up your spot at the University of Chicago for Kyle. But this cryptology program at West Point, it's a whole different ballgame. It requires a complete background check, a top-secret security clearance. Have you talked to your parents about this? No need. It's my decision. Hearing the word parents, a flash of pain crossed my eyes, but it quickly faded. When I completely disappeared from their world, maybe nothing else would be taken from me. It all started because my younger cousin drowned in the river trying to save me. My parents took him into our home. They said I owed him a life and had to be more understanding. To make up for his loss, they gave him all the good things. Even my fiancée, Bethany, fell for him. Family and love had been stolen. Now, to steal my spot at the University of Chicago, my parents were pushing me to agree to Kyle. They even suggested using that marriage license as a bargaining chip. I thought about it all night in my small bed on the sun porch, and finally I saw the light. This time, I wouldn't give in. I chose to cut ties with them, to have no more obligations. The red leaves were fire on the cold road, my shadow lonely. All around me were factory workers in blue uniforms, going home. They rode their bikes, their faces full of human warmth and happy smiles. This noisy, lively world didn't suit me. A Jeep Cherokee pulled up beside me, blocking my way. The window rolled down, revealing Bethany's beautiful, cold face. She was filled with impatience. Did you explain things clearly with the school? I was silent. Of course, I'd explained things clearly, but not at Bethany's command, to give up my spot at the University of Chicago. I would disappear to a place she could never find. Without waiting for me to answer, Kyle popped his head out from the back seat, waving his hand, holding a pile of stuff. Cousin, look. Bethany bought me so many things, clothes, shoes, and even a radio. She said I can't be seen as poor and low class when I get to the University of Chicago. I stared at the necklace around Kyle's neck. My face changed drastically, my heart feeling pierced. That was Grandma's heirloom, and also a love token I gave Bethany. I didn't expect Bethany to love Kyle so much that she gave him the necklace. Bethany noticed my gaze. A look of embarrassment flashed in her eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. Kyle liked it, and it wasn't anything valuable anyway. After we get that marriage license, I'll buy you something better. My heart ached. The necklace itself wasn't worth much, what mattered was the love it represented. But in Bethany's mouth, it became insignificant. That's right, Bethany never loved me, so she wouldn't treasure it. Hearing about the marriage license, Kyle's eyes flashed with intense jealousy. He deliberately acted weak. Bethany, cousin looks unhappy. Does he blame me for taking his spot at the University of Chicago? I'm sorry, it's my fault. I shouldn't have taken his things. I'm unwanted. Bethany couldn't bear to see Kyle sad. Her face darkened like a storm cloud. She glared at me angrily. Kyle's been through so much already. You have everything. Why are you still fighting with him? She comforted Kyle. Don't worry. The spot at the University of Chicago is yours. No one can take it away. You just go home and think things over, and when you understand, apologize to Kyle. Otherwise, I won't forgive you. With that, she floored the gas pedal and sped away, leaving dust on the ground. Kyle, in the back seat, gave me a smug, defiant look, his face full of gloating. The dust made me cough violently. Look, I didn't say anything, didn't do anything, but it was all my fault. I stood there for a long time until a maple leaf fell on my shoulder, the thin fabric of my jacket offering little protection from the piercing cold. Because of my parents' favoritism, I had nowhere to go. With her, the world will have no shortage of love. But even the woman who said she would be with me for a lifetime has changed her mind. The sky was gloomy. I laughed bitterly. Biased parents, a fickle fiancé. I didn't need any of it anymore. I had just returned home when I heard cheerful laughter inside. I looked up at the sky, the rosy clouds like a mocking face, ridiculing my lonely, sad figure. Since my parents had brought Kyle home, I had become completely superfluous. Just because he saved me, I always had to be understanding, from the toys and clothes in the beginning to the love of my parents. Finally, even my fiancé didn't want me. I was like a lonely ghost wandering the world, quietly standing at the door. The laughter inside was like a sharp knife stabbing my heart, fresh blood soaking the floor under my feet, forming a giant shadow, submerging me. I pushed open the door. The laughter in the house immediately disappeared, as if my appearance had broken the harmonious atmosphere of their family. My mother, Mrs. Smith, glanced at me, pointed to the end seat next to me, on which was placed a bowl of rice with only a few green vegetables in it, while on their table, in addition to fish and meat, there was beef. From an early age, my parents said that my cousin was growing and needed nutrition, so they gave the best things to him, forcing me to be understanding, but the food. Now, I can only stay on the tattered small bed on the balcony, eating the picked vegetable leaves. But my parents never thought that I was only half a year older than Kyle. I also needed nutrition. Mrs. Smith stood up and deliberately put a piece of fish in my bowl and smiled. This is your favorite food, sit down quickly. I did not express any emotion. Mom, I'm allergic to fish. It's my cousin who likes to eat fish. This time, Mrs. Smith did not show impatience and scolded me for being nosy as before, stared into my eyes and rarely showed kindness. Have you made it clear with the school that the spot at the University of Chicago is for my cousin? You can do better in the following year. I was silent and did not speak. Mrs. Smith's face changed and her tone became serious. How can you disagree? You owe your cousin a life, but what's a spot at the University of Chicago? You should be a little understanding. Even though I have experienced it many times, Mrs. Smith's bias still hurts me. Mr. Smith put down his chopsticks and suddenly slapped me in the face, his face angry as if he was an enemy. How did I raise such an ungrateful child like you? If you don't agree, get out of this house immediately. I don't have a child like you. My head was buzzing, and a red handprint appeared on my face. Faced with the angry eyes of my parents, I only felt that my body was being cut up by thousands of knives and kept shaking. Kyle looked weak. Don't force my cousin anymore, I see it uncomfortably. Maybe I don't have the luck to go to school. Don't blame my cousin, just blame me for being unpopular. My parents hurried forward to comfort him, promising to make sure that I would give up the Chicago quota, but also buy him a lot of gifts, and Kyle showed a smile, looking at me with a pale face. Cousin, I don't intend to take your things. If you care, I can go. Mr. Smith roared and glared at me angrily. Are you satisfied now that you've upset the whole family? Apologize to your cousin quickly. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, my eyes swept over everyone. These people who have the name of relatives are now thinking of forcing me to death. When Mr. Smith was about to step forward to hit someone, his uncle Kyle spoke beside him. David has agreed to give up the Chicago quota and has come to the school to explain today. My parents calmed down, snorted, and Mrs. Smith thought for a while, stared at me, still knew what was going on. My cousin has gone to school, so you can go to work to earn tuition for him. Remember, this is the debt you have to pay. I stared blankly at Mrs. Smith, the woman who gave birth to me. How could she say such cruel words? Mrs. Smith seemed not to care about her son's reaction, and ordered in a tone that could not be objected to, "Go to work, anyway, you are idle at home." My parents also nodded, indicating their agreement. Then the whole family began to discuss how to hold a party for Kyle. After all, getting into the University of Chicago is a glorious thing for the family. No one cares about me next to me. My existence is like a trash can in the house, mentioned when needed, and thrown away without hesitation when not needed. I don't know, when I was lying in bed, my heart was so numb. In this house without warmth, the suffocation made me unable to breathe. The bed sheet has been used for more than 10 years and can only wrap half of my body, which is musty and wet. While Kyle has a spacious and bright room inside filled with all kinds of toys and candies bought from the department store. I can only sleep on the narrow balcony that is flooded, blown by the wind, rain in winter and snow lasting for 10 years, hot in the summer but cold in the heart. I looked at the night sky thinking that in just 1 month I would leave this place without love. Having been unnecessary in this family, let's disappear forever. That night, I had a dream. I dreamed that my parents were holding me in their arms when I was young, taking care of me attentively, their eyes full of love. Bethany, 2 years older than me, pinched my cheeks and said I was so cute. I was immersed in a warm stream and didn't want to wake up. When Kyle appeared like a nightmare, my parents' faces became fierce and yelled at me, and Bethany also left me, getting further and further away. I cried and said, "Mom and Dad, don't abandon me." I chased wildly, but there was a bottomless abyss under my feet. I fell into despair and pain surrounded me, unable to struggle. My parents and Bethany did not turn their heads and surrounded Kyle, going away, and I forever sank into endless darkness. The fireworks outside woke me up. I opened my eyes, thinking that I would no longer be saddened by them, but in my heart, I still longed to be loved and recognized. Luckily, this was just a dream. A jeep drove into the yard, saw a tall man get out of the car. I hurriedly went downstairs. "Kevin heard that you got into the University of Chicago, not bad." The tall man is Bethany's godfather and an old friend of the family. His father-in-law once saved his life, so he made a marriage contract from an early age. Kevin Kirkland is the only one who is really good to me. Kevin Kirkland rubbed my head, looked at his daughter next to him and nodded. "You still know what to do. Know how to set off fireworks to congratulate David." Bethany frowned. "Dad, this is not lit for David. David said he didn't want to study and gave up his spot at the University of Chicago for Kyle. Kevin Kirkland said he would study well in 5 years and live up to everyone's expectations." Kevin Kirkland's face changed slightly and he was about to be criticized but was stopped by me. I smiled reluctantly. "Uncle, go home and rest first. I'll explain another day." I didn't want Kevin Kirkland to ask the route, otherwise, it would reveal the registration to the National Defense University and the decoding major. I just wanted to leave quietly and didn't want to have too much involvement with them. Kevin Kirkland's face changed slightly, glared at his daughter and left angrily. Only me and Bethany were left at the scene. Bethany did not express any emotion. "Don't tell my dad about the marriage license first, and you'd better have a suitable explanation for giving up the spot at the University of Chicago. Understood?" I lowered my head and said a few times and didn't respond. Bethany gave up registering to get married to someone she didn't love to help Kyle get into the University of Chicago. It was too great. Kyle is still young and cannot stand stimulation. You'd better not mention the marriage license in front of him. And yesterday you asked him to apologize, so why hasn't there been any movement so far? Without waiting for me to speak, Bethany asked, "Kyle is about to arrive at the University of Chicago. Give him a few clothing coupons and food coupons as a heartfelt blessing." Seeing that Bethany always thinks of Kyle, my heart feels like there is a stone on it and I can't breathe. "Did you think I still have those coupons? With your and my parents' favor, how can he lack these things?" Bethany was stunned, and at this time remembered my situation, and a look of complexity flashed on her face. "Don't worry, I have promised to register to get married to you, and I will not go back on my word. Bethany could only use marriage to comfort me. Sister Bethany, do you really want to marry my cousin? Bethany's face changed drastically and suddenly looked towards the door of the house. Kyle leaned on the door frame with a pale face and became extremely painful. That's not true. Before Bethany could explain, Kyle frantically hit his head against the wall, his face full of pain. I don't want you to marry my cousin. I also like you. Kyle showed extreme pain. Bethany was immediately panicked, pushed me away and stepped forward to hug him. Kyle's parents also came out and saw Kyle's appearance. The three of them quickly took Kyle into the car to the hospital. Before leaving, Bethany looked at me coldly with an icy tone. See, you deliberately provoked Kyle, right? I didn't expect you to be so insidious. Realizing Bethany's contemptuous eyes, my heart felt like it had been punched hard. Whatever Kyle wants, as long as he shows a little sadness, the whole family will have to revolve around him. All the blame is caused by me. Bethany's anger kept appearing in my head. I told myself not to be sad for a woman who doesn't love me, but my heart still hurts a lot. Kyle's little trick can actually be seen through with a little heart. In the past, Bethany couldn't stand the family's bias towards Kyle. At the moment when I was most desperate, I broke into the house, took me away and told the whole area that no one was allowed to bully me in the future. Bethany was really good to me at that time. I don't know when Bethany has changed. From disliking Kyle, he gradually became pity for Kyle. Kyle seems to be my nemesis and can always take away everything from me. I watched the car go away coldly. This is the last time I am sad for Bethany, and it is also the last time I am sad for this home without warmth. Later, I will live for myself and use my youth to build the country. I returned home and began to clean the small and narrow balcony. The old box inside contained all the gifts from Uncle Kevin Kirkland, from the big wooden doll to a small autumn leaf. I regarded Uncle Kevin Kirkland's gifts as treasures and couldn't bear to throw them away. But now, like a thief, I sorted out all the gifts, placed them in the yard and burned them with a flame, and buried them in the big flame with my love for Uncle Kevin Kirkland. When the gifts were almost burned out, Bethany returned to the yard. Just happened to see this scene. When she saw the wooden doll burning, her face changed drastically, and a strong feeling of panic rose in her heart. Bethany's voice was a little trembling and looked at me in shock. David, these are the gifts I gave you, why did you burn them? It seemed that something was out of control, which made her feel uneasy for no reason. I looked at the burning wooden doll until it turned to ashes and slowly turned my head, using extremely calm eyes to face each other. In that moment, Bethany seemed to feel that the person in front of her was about to leave her. I took a breath, and at the moment when the gift turned into ashes, a certain obsession in my heart was let go and was no longer attached. It no longer hurts who my parents love. Whoever Bethany cares about, it was nothing to do with me. I had to go my own way. Anything that was broken had to be burned. I had a sudden urge to tell Bethany the truth, to let her know that I didn't love her anymore. But since it was only 20 days till I could disappear, I just swallowed my tongue and didn't say anything. Bethany seemed relieved and nodded. Burning is good too. Anyway, it's not like it's worth anything. I can always get it again once we get the marriage license. I smiled, thinking to myself, we're not going to register for a marriage license and we'll have no future. Bethany thought that, besides her, I had no other choice or way to leave. The anxiety I felt just now was perhaps unnecessary. Bethany's face resumed her proud, arrogant look and frowned, displeased. Don't be all cold and aloof all day. Kyle lost his parents and had depression, so he can't take this. You have everything. No need to fight. I smiled with a hint of sarcasm, asking back, then tell me, what do I have? The love of my parents? The concern of my fiancé? Or even a decent piece of clothing? I have none. Kyle took everything of mine, what more do I need to give up? Bethany couldn't stand me pitying myself anymore, so she grew impatient. Don't you have parents? You still have me. Kyle's in the hospital, suffering. Go apologize to him. I thought I heard wrong. It was obvious that Kyle's depression was all an act, but each of them continued to act like they saw nothing. I replied coldly, he has my parents with him, my fiancé and so many medical staff, does he even need me? Bethany went ballistic. How could you have no sympathy at all? You're the reason for all this depression and trauma. In any case, you're his cousin, a brother from another mother, a brother in arms, so you should be more generous. Do you still not realize your mistake? Seems like I spoiled you too much. David, don't you think I am giving you a chance to get on your knees? If you don't go to the hospital to apologize, our marriage license will have to wait. After she said that, she left angrily, seeming to use the marriage license as a threat, so I unconditionally obey every request. I was indifferent and watched the car leave. I returned home and wanted to pack up my luggage and leave, but realized there was nothing worth taking in such a big house. In the evening, when my parents returned home, they didn't give me a good look. They seemed to blame me for instigating Kyle. Mom came up to me with a serious face, David, you have to give up Bethany to Kyle too. He's been with her for a lot longer and has strong feelings for her. Kyle's even been asking to commit suicide in the hospital. You're his cousin, a brother from another mother, a brother in arms, so you should be more generous and give in. Even knowing Mom was biased toward Kyle to the point of being insane, I never expected her to be so shameless. Mom's words in the hot summer were like a cold breeze blowing across my face. I stared fixedly at her eyes, my voice hoarse, Mom, I'm your son. You always tell me to let Kyle be. How little have I given up over the years? Any new thing in the house, on the table, new clothes, my room, which one hasn't been given to him? I'm going to give everything up now. Everything has been taken from me and you expect me to give more? My best efforts at school, my bed, and you expect me to give up my soulmate, a lifelong partner, Bethany. Is there nothing too far? What do you mean by good intentions? Is it right to let others give up their futures? Isn't it right for them to have a relationship? Mom slapped me hard across the face with a disappointed look. He's your cousin. And just for you he's lost his parents. What you give up won't be enough. Dad said the same thing. What would be right is that you aren't grateful. I am going to be blunt, you must give it up. If not, you are not a son of mine. Mom left those cruel words, turned around and left. I relied on the doorframe. The setting sun above was like a mocking face, indifferently treating me as a big joke. It turned out I was very happy in their eyes. Not long after, Bethany returned to the yard and went straight to the point. David, Kyle's mental state is very bad. Our marriage registration is put on hold. She wasn't discussing it. She was giving me an order. Fortunately, I had accumulated enough disappointment, so I was no longer sad. I pulled my pale face together and said each word very seriously, okay. Bethany didn't expect that not only wouldn't I make a scene, but I would also happily agree. For a moment, she didn't know what to say and stood there blankly. For a long time I didn't look at Bethany. My eyes fell on the sycamore tree outside the yard. I remembered that when I was 11 years old, Kyle had tricked my parents into scolding me, beat me until my body was full of injuries, and chased me out of the house. I was alone and had no place to rely on. In desperation, I sat under the sycamore tree and cried. It was Bethany who came in front of me, reached out her hand, and smiled gently, "Come home with me." At that time, she was like a ray of light illuminating my dark life. From then on, my life had a place to rely on and had hope. Bethany hoped that I would pass the exam at the University of Chicago and fulfill her dream. So when the college entrance examination was restored in '78, I worked silently and finally won the top spot. I thought that I could always follow in Bethany's footsteps and be together forever. Now, looking back, it was all an illusion. The Bethany in front of me had completely changed, step by step forcing me to compromise. For Kyle, she could give up Chicago and marry a man she didn't love. What great love! When Bethany said that the marriage registration was on hold, my heart was very calm and no longer had any expectations of her. Now that she said the marriage registration was on hold, the next thing would be breaking her promise. At that time, I would lose the chance to go to school, and Bethany would not marry me either. This was for sure. Fortunately, I didn't give up my spot at the University of Chicago. In about 20 days, I would leave this heartbreaking place and go to West Point to completely cut off relations. David, don't think too much. I promised you that I would never go back on my word. It's mainly that Kyle's mental state is unstable, so I don't want to upset him. Seeing that I wasn't arguing or making a scene, my calm demeanor made her flustered, so she couldn't help explaining. I withdrew my gaze from the sycamore tree and suddenly asked a question. Do you remember what you promised me under that sycamore tree when I was 11 years old? Bethany's face changed slightly. She seemed to remember something, and a bit of guilt flashed in her eyes, but just as she was about to say something, a police officer stepped forward with a worried look. Ma'am, we just received a call from the hospital saying that Kyle hurt himself again. Bethany frowned and no longer paid attention to me. She turned around and got in the car. Watching the car leave, I turned back to my room. That small balcony didn't really have anything to burn. The gifts Bethany gave me, other than a few old, tattered, and thin clothes, it seemed that my parents had never given me anything other than this life. Everything I had received was used as a means to get me to do what they wanted as they took it away. Kyle had it and would live out a much better life. Bethany was gone for a week. During these days, my parents and she were at the hospital taking care of Kyle. I was able to enjoy some peace and quiet. I didn't have to see Kyle's disgusting face, and I didn't need to face my biased parents. I sought out Kevin Kirkland, hoping to build up my physique and adapt to West Point in advance. Since I had decided to major in cryptography, I would face many dangers in the future. Kevin Kirkland didn't think much about it and thought that I was enterprising, so he taught me without holding back anything. Time passed another week. Today, I was training in the yard, sweating all over, but I was energetic. I cut my hair short. In the past, Uncle Kevin Kirkland said that he liked boys with artistic temperament, so I kept an artistic hairstyle. Now, I only live for myself. After cutting my hair, I seemed to have become a different person. When Kevin Kirkland saw it, he couldn't help but exclaim, "This is what a soldier should look like." Although Kevin Kirkland didn't know why I was training, he vaguely guessed it, so he didn't reveal it. The affairs of young people are resolved by themselves, and it seems that old friends are not right to be biased. He often performs tasks outside and it is difficult to intervene. If I needed help, he wouldn't mind providing some convenience. The peaceful life was finally broken by the return of Kyle. I was standing in the yard and when I looked up, I saw my parents and Bethany surrounding Kyle. They walked into the yard while talking and laughing. Kyle relied entirely on Bethany, and their relationship was very intimate. My parents pretended not to see it. On the contrary, they were happy. Bethany didn't object either. Only when she felt my gaze did she remember something and hurriedly pushed Kyle away. Kyle was immediately unhappy. "Do you not want anything to do with me?" Bethany was embarrassed and could only continue to let Kyle lean on her. Kyle walked into the house, glanced at me, his eyes full of challenge and ridicule. My face was calm as if these four people were not related to me and I concentrated on training. Time passed before I knew it, an hour passed. I finished training and exhaled a sigh of relief. In the middle of summer, there was rarely a cool breeze. I closed my eyes and enjoyed the rare feeling of comfort in the yard. At this time, a trembling voice came from behind. I opened my eyes and saw Bethany holding a magazine in her hand. A trace of fear flashed in her eyes. Bethany took Kyle back to the room and accidentally saw a magazine about West Point on the small bed on the balcony. A feeling of unease rose in her heart, so she hurried downstairs to ask, "Why are you looking at materials about West Point?" Faced with Bethany's question, my face was calm and I didn't explain immediately, but took a towel and wiped the sweat. "Tell me." Bethany grabbed my hand and her body trembled slightly, as if she had lost the most important thing. I gently pulled my small hand away that I had wanted to hold countless times. At this time, my heart was not at all agitated. I smiled and said, "I just took a look." Bethany stared into my eyes and saw that the other party didn't seem to be lying. She also thought that I couldn't lie to her. Relieved, she nodded him. There's really nothing to see. With his physique, he's not suitable for West Point. It's better to study hard and retake the exam next year. Anyway, his score is good and he has a chance. I didn't confirm or deny it. Do you think I still have a chance? My parents are asking me to go out and work to earn tuition for my cousin to go to school this summer for a period of time. Bethany's face changed and she wanted to say something but stopped. She seemed to feel that she owed me a lot over the past few years, so her tone softened. Don't worry, I won't let you go to work. There's no need to worry about money. I've already prepared a sum that's enough for Kyle to go to school. I laughed at myself. Look at how good Bethany is to Kyle, she's attentive in everything, not only forcing me to give up my spot at the University of Chicago, but also preparing tuition fees. It must be said that that family is really happy. I naturally saw the confusion in Bethany's heart, but I didn't think it was love for me. It was just a little regret. I believed that as long as Kyle did that act, my parents' bias towards Kyle would definitely force me to go out and work to earn money, and Bethany would also remain silent. Fortunately, I was no longer interested in it. Seeing that I was silent, Bethany thought I was jealous and wanted to touch my head. In the end, she found that I had cut my hair short. It was completely different from the artistic look before. I don't know why, I was clearly still here, but it seemed that I was about to disappear. She had a sense of losing control. David, I will take you. Trust me. It's just a matter of time. It's just a delay. Bethany's voice was firm and irrefutable. If it had been before, I would have been very excited. But at this time I just said softly, with a calm and cold expression, which made Bethany even more uneasy. On the balcony on the second floor, Kyle just happened to see the two people below. His eyes shot out a strong resentment. That night, I went to bed very early. In addition to not wanting to see my biased parents taking care of Kyle attentively, it was also because I was too tired from training during the day. The next morning, I left home and went to school. In the class office, I met a dignified man wearing a military uniform. His whole body exuded a resolute temperament that made people couldn't help but feel goodwill. The other party introduced himself as a teacher majoring in cryptography at West Point. This time, in addition to the mission, he was also here to pick me up to school. The cryptography major at West Point is very special. It belongs to the pre-recruitment category, so there is no need to follow the usual procedures and there is no admission notice. Instead, the West Point teacher directly picks you up to a secret place for training. After finishing the handover work, the West Point teacher said that he would come to the school again in a week to pick him up again. On the way back, I remembered the appearance of the West Point teacher wearing a military uniform. I hoped that I would study hard to repay the country and become like that in the future. Although the house was cold and there was no love at all, I had hope and looked forward to the day when I would go to West Point. When I returned to the yard, the sky was getting dark. My parents didn't know where they had gone. I returned to my room and saw Kyle sitting on my small bed, looking at me with contempt. Cousin, it seems that she likes me more, Kyle sneered with a half-smile. Have you seen it? As long as I want it, your things are all mine. So, why are you still staying in this family? Why don't you just die quickly? I have new hope. I didn't pay any attention to Kyle's provocation. Kyle originally thought that he could provoke me and force me to go crazy like before, see me kneeling down in pain, and laugh extremely crazily. But at this time, my face was calm. He was like punching cotton, and his face became ugly. Kyle didn't like this feeling. He remembered Bethany's promise to me downstairs for 3 days and was insanely jealous. Even if he hurt himself, Bethany would only postpone the marriage registration with me and he didn't really belong to her, so he couldn't help but speak out to provoke. But my attitude made him even more jealous. A look of madness flashed in Kyle's eyes. He said to me with a chilling voice, "You say if I was jealous and pushed you downstairs, who would they believe?" My face changed drastically and I was just about to struggle when my whole body was pushed down by Kyle. "Help! Don't kill me. Kyle first used his head to hit the wall, covering his face with blood, and then ran downstairs to lie next to me. I fell from the second floor and my body hit the floor hard. The pain was so bad that I couldn't breathe. Kyle's wails immediately attracted the attention of my parents and Bethany. The three of them quickly came in front of them and saw the situation of the two of them. My parents didn't say anything and kicked me in the stomach, roaring angrily, "How could you treat Kyle like this?" I stared blankly at my parents' ferocious, raging faces. All explanation suddenly choked in my throat. I closed my eyes, my heart as if a knife had been plunged into it. "I didn't expect you to be so vicious. Because you were jealous, you wanted to kill someone. You're even more hateful than a bad element. I don't have a son like you." Dad's eyes were red and he looked at his son like an enemy, kicking him hard twice. Mom supported Kyle and cried very sadly. "Sorry, I only went out for a while. I didn't expect to cause such a big mistake." "Kyle, hold on. I'll take you to the hospital right away." Kyle's face was covered in blood and he looked serious. In fact, it was just an external injury and his wails made my parents and Bethany's hearts ache. But from the angle of the three of them, they couldn't see him smiling coldly and viciously at me. I fell from the second floor and was injured more severely than him. At this time I couldn't speak and was kicked a few more times. My body was bent like a shrimp, but the physical pain was completely inferior to the wound in my heart. My parents never believed me, even if I explained it, it would be useless. They trusted Kyle unconditionally. It took me a few minutes to stand up. My face was pale, my body was shaking constantly and I couldn't help but look at Bethany with disappointment. Kyle cried pitifully, "Cousin, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pestered you or forced her to be with me. I know you hate me. If I die, can it make you happy? I'll give you this life and I don't need it. And you won't make Mom and Dad sad." I looked at Kyle coldly, watched his performance and saw the angry eyes of my parents. I felt a dark and desperate scene in front of me. I was used to loneliness and sadness. I had decided to give up my parents and Bethany and didn't want these garbage relatives anymore. Why did Kyle still want to harm me again? Bethany slapped me across the face. Her beautiful face was icy. I said I would register the marriage. "Why did you hurt Kyle? He's already so sad. Must you force him to death?" A red handprint appeared on my face and blood flowed from the corner of my mouth. I looked at Bethany blankly. She, like my parents, trusted Kyle unconditionally. In their eyes, I was a criminal. I originally wanted to explain a few words to Bethany. I thought that at least she would have some doubts, but now it seemed that it was unnecessary. Bethany shook her head with a disappointed look on her face. "How can I register the marriage safely with someone like you who stops at nothing to achieve his goals? David, you're so disappointing." The three of them didn't look at me again and took Kyle to the hospital. Kyle turned his head and smiled. That smile was like a demon crawling out of hell. I couldn't bear it anymore and spat out a mouthful of blood before collapsing to the ground. The night was quiet and the eyes were so cold. I woke up, my body numb. I struggled to return home and lay in bed for a few hours. I only recovered a bit of strength. I applied medicine on myself. The night was as cold as water, but nowhere near as cold as my frozen heart. The actions of my parents and Bethany were like a blunt knife stabbing a large hole in my heart. My already broken mental world collapsed once again. I was like an injured puppy, licking my wounds on the dark sun porch. The tears had long dried up and the emotions had long gone numb, all that was left was a lifeless shell. At this moment, I only wanted time to pass quickly. I didn't want to stay in this home for even a moment. This cold, heartless house was like a huge, blood-filled mouth, ready to swallow me whole at any time. I lay in bed, looking at the night sky. I really missed my late grandmother. In this world, she was the only one who truly loved me. I drifted off to sleep, but was awakened by a bucket of cold water. Before I could even open my eyes, I was grabbed forcefully and dragged into the living room. My parents and Bethany had brought Kyle back. Even though it was just an external injury, to them, my actions were unforgivable. My dad kicked me hard, his face dark. "David, kneel down and apologize to Kyle now. If you don't get his forgiveness, you are no longer my son." In the cold house, with heartless relatives, my already wounded heart shattered again. My gaze swept over everyone, the hateful faces of my parents, the disappointed eyes of Bethany, and the undisguised smugness on Kyle's face. These people who were once closest to me were hurting me again and again. My class enemies couldn't make my heart feel any colder than these relatives. It was clear that Kyle was trying to frame me, but I was being forced to kneel down and apologize. If it were before, I would have compromised in order to salvage our relationship and gain their approval. But now, I loathed my identity and my family. Why did I have to be born into this cold family? Seeing me being stubborn, my dad's face turned ugly and he kicked me, roaring angrily, "Do you think you're not in the wrong?" I staggered and fell to the ground, spitting out blood again. Bethany's face changed slightly. She wanted to step forward and help me, but thought that being punished a little might save me. She stopped my dad and shook her head gently. "Dad, stop it." My eyes moved slightly, thinking Bethany would help me, but her next words made me want to laugh out loud. Bethany frowned, her face cold. "I don't think you're fit to register for marriage with me in your current state. If it weren't for Kyle's good fortune, he might have been killed. As punishment, our marriage registration will be postponed, and to make up for Kyle, I'll hold a wedding with him first." I looked at Bethany in shock. "What kind of punishment is this?" Bethany realized the sarcasm in my eyes, feeling that her reasoning was not enough. She became extremely annoyed. "This isn't a real marriage. I just want to make it up to him." My parents and Bethany stared at me, subconsciously standing in front of Kyle, preventing me from going crazy and harming him. Sadly for them, I didn't get angry or try to stop them. Instead, I broke out into a brilliant smile, spitting out a mouthful of blood as I grinned. "Then congratulations to you in advance, cousin and sister-in-law. After saying that, if there's nothing else, I'll go and rest first." I walked with difficulty, almost crawling, to the sun porch. I didn't want to look at them anymore. Kyle pretended to be weak. "Cousin, will you attend my wedding with her? Even if it's just a formality, I'll be very satisfied. I hope to receive your blessing." My dad snorted. "Don't worry, even if he doesn't want to come, I'll tie him up and drag him there. Does he think he doesn't have to pay the price for doing something wrong?" Mom shouted at my back, "If you don't come, get out of this house." Bethany didn't know why I wasn't showing my usual jealousy. A strong sense of unease rose in her heart. She wouldn't actually marry Kyle, it was just going through the motions. In her mind, I was losing myself because of jealousy. That must be fixed. If I could learn a lesson this time, maybe there was still hope. After the wedding, she would talk to me properly. But the term sister-in-law and the calm smile on my face were like a thorn stabbing her heart. Why did I have this feeling? After that, the three of them no longer paid attention to me. They didn't care if I fell from the building and died, nor were they worried that I would run away. In their minds, I cared deeply about this family and was deeply in love with Bethany. The world was vast, but I had nowhere to go. For the next 3 days, as expected, I didn't make a scene and stayed at home to recover from my injuries. My parents and Bethany happily prepared for the wedding. The wedding location was at the National Hotel. For the people of that time, this was an extremely extravagant act. But in order to make Kyle happy, my parents spared no expense. On the wedding day, I packed my things early, waiting for the West Point teacher to pick me up. My parents and Kyle had already gone to the National Hotel to welcome guests. Bethany, because she was a soldier, wasn't wearing a wedding dress. She came in front of me. "David, let's go together later, okay? Kyle and I are just going through the motions, we're not registering our marriage. Don't worry, I'll still marry you." Bethany swore, just like that year when I was kicked out of the house by my parents and sitting under the sycamore tree outside the yard. It was she who brought new hope. It was also she who promised to never leave me for the rest of her life. But how much time had passed? Bethany had completely changed. I calmly nodded. Bethany breathed a sigh of relief. I was really afraid that you would make a scene at my wedding today, but looking at you, you've probably learned your lesson and will be better behaved in the future. Bethany insisted on taking me to the hotel. She didn't see any expectation on my face. She felt uneasy. I was always dealing with every word she said so calmly, as if the woman in front of me was no longer the fiancée she loved and cherished, but a stranger. Just as Bethany was about to pull me into the car, an officer came to report that the hotel side couldn't wait any longer. Only then did Bethany stop, telling me to be there, otherwise, she wouldn't marry me in the future. Watching her hurriedly leave, I didn't show any emotion. I grabbed my duffel bag and walked out of the yard. As soon as Bethany's car left, the car of the West Point teacher arrived in the yard. The teacher asked if I wanted to say goodbye to my family. I turned my head and took one last look at the yard, this place that held 15 years of suffering. I didn't want to stay any longer. My parents were biased, my fiancé betrayed me. I didn't want to see them again. I quickly got into the car, heading to the West Point cryptography major. My real identity would be erased, living in obscurity for the rest of my life. For the second half of my life, I didn't want to be a son to my parents, nor did I want to be Bethany's husband. I wanted to be myself, serving my country for the rest of my life. The West Point car passed by the National Hotel. I looked through the window, seeing my relatives standing at the main entrance, welcoming guests. My parents and Kyle were smiling happily, while Bethany was full of shyness, a look of expectation on her face. The four of them looked very well matched. The car left. The four of them and the National Hotel gradually disappeared from my sight. I would live a life that belonged to me. At the entrance of the National Hotel, Bethany seemed to have a sudden feeling. She raised her head. The jeep waiting for me had left. For some reason, a trace of confusion flashed in her heart. The D family was beaming with joy. They told everyone that their family had good things happening. Kyle had not only passed the entrance exam to Peking University, but he had also married the most beautiful woman in the district. Bethany felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. Both her spot at Peking University and her marriage should have belonged to David. She was only cooperating to treat Kyle. I'm just trying to cheer up Kyle. She was just trying to work with Kyle and only reluctantly agreed. But listening to their tone, it was as if it was all natural. Kyle stuck close to Bethany, his eyes searching in the crowd, acting weak. Why haven't I seen my cousin? Didn't he promise to come and bless me? Or is he angry and doesn't want me to be happy? I should have knelt down and apologized to my cousin. Kyle started to pretend to be pitiful again. My dad's face was ugly and he snorted, an ungrateful thing. I really regret giving birth to this son. He's not even 1/10,000th as good as Kyle. Mom nodded in agreement. David is too insensible. It's his cousin's wedding and he's not coming. He hasn't bullied Kyle enough in the past. It's Kyle who is generous and doesn't care. He almost killed him a few days ago, and now he's putting on a face for who to see? When we get home, we'll definitely teach him a good lesson. The D family reached a consensus that I should have some perspective on Kyle's happy day. Kyle added fuel to the fire and lowered his head. Maybe he likes you. I didn't really intend to steal you. I just wanted to fulfill my dream of getting married. After the wedding, I'll return you to him. If my cousin is angry, then let's not hold it. Kyle was again playing on their sympathy, once again igniting the anger of the D family. Thinking of my desperate and painful face, and hearing the cursing of the D family, Kyle was satisfied. Bethany was still staring outside. After a long time, seeing that I wasn't coming, she became anxious. The reason why she agreed to hold the wedding was not because she really wanted to marry Kyle, but to fulfill his wish. Bethany thought that I shouldn't be so petty and that I could definitely understand. After all, human life was important. But she was subconsciously recalling my cold face. Seeing that the wedding was about to begin and I still hadn't arrived, Bethany couldn't wait any longer and walked outside. Kyle hurriedly stopped her. "Bethany, are you planning to leave me?" Bethany suddenly turned her head, her cold eyes falling on Kyle's face. In that moment, Kyle was shocked and forgot to pretend to be sad. It was rare for him to see Bethany with such a terrifying expression. Bethany was extremely anxious. She always felt that something bad was going to happen. A voice was ringing in her heart, telling her that she had to go back. "I'm going to pick him up." This time, Bethany didn't pay attention to Kyle and quickly left. On the way back, she felt that she had been negligent and needed to explain things clearly to me. It wasn't a real wedding, it was just for show. At her fastest speed, she returned to the yard and went straight to the gate, arriving at the sun porch. "David, don't be angry anymore. Everyone is waiting for you." Bethany lifted the curtain. The small, damp sun porch had been cleaned up. The small folding bed was thrown in the corner. The only low table used for studying was placed in the center, leaving a note on it, "I don't need it anymore." Bethany would never see these words again. The two short sentences were like a punch to Bethany's heart. Bethany tried to suppress the panic in her heart, telling herself, "David must be joking." In her impression, I had nowhere to go and couldn't bear to leave my parents and her. Bethany understood my personality very well. I had endured so much over the years just to be by my parents' side, hoping to receive their love. But everything before her made her extremely uneasy. Bethany couldn't accept it and searched the yard. As time passed, she was shocked to find that the traces that once belonged to me had disappeared. The crabapple tree I had planted in the yard for her when I was 15 was gone. The red silk thread I had hung on the swing in the yard when I was 17 to pray for her blessings was no longer there. Bethany hurried under the sycamore tree outside the yard. She remembered that I liked to stay under the tree the most, burying the deepest secrets in my heart underground, hoping to be loved and recognized by my parents, along with my secret feelings for Bethany. It was all in the small jar under the sycamore tree. But seeing the scene before her, Bethany was struck by lightning. The ground had been dug up, the jar had been smashed, and the thoughts inside had turned to ashes. At this moment, Bethany finally realized a serious problem. I had really left. Bethany sat under the sycamore tree, staring blankly at the pile of ashes. My departure had actually been foreshadowed. It was a pity that no one had noticed that a child who wasn't loved by anyone would leave so decisively, burning her gifts, destroying the beautiful memories, and not taking a single sycamore leaf. Bethany had only pretended to marry Kyle to fulfill his wish. She had never said she would abandon me. Why did I have to go? Even now, Bethany still didn't understand and would never understand. She only felt that the summer air was a bit stuffy, suppressing her chest uncomfortably. A hot wind blew through. Every sycamore leaf fell. Bethany blankly raised her head, as if seeing the child who was once abandoned by his family. Crying heart stared intently at Mom, hoping to see a hint of concern in her eyes, but there was none. Mom had always been impatient with me. Bethany looked out the window, her voice soft. "David's gone to college. He'll never come home again." Mom's face changed drastically. She grabbed Bethany's arm, her eyes flashing with anger. "What's he studying? Didn't he agree to give up his spot at the University of Chicago for Kyle?" "That's not right. The admissions notice for the University of Chicago is still half a month away. That kid's never been good at studying, he just likes to trick people. When he gets home, I'll have to teach him a good lesson." Bethany was shocked, feeling sorry for me. "He's already left." My own mother was still scolding me. She suddenly lost all patience, shaking off Mom's hand. Her voice was cold. "David's at West Point. Not the University of Chicago." Mom's face turned ugly, cursing in a very unpleasant way. "What right does he have to go to West Point? What about Kyle? We've already announced it to everyone. We're about to have a party celebrating his college acceptance. What's David's problem? Can't he stand to see Kyle doing well? You have to call him back. No matter what, he has to give up his spot at the University of Chicago." Mom grabbed Bethany's arm, trying to drag her out. It was as if I had committed some unpardonable crime. Bethany struggled, but Mom's words stopped her. Kyle slashed his wrists, lost a lot of blood. Bethany hesitated. She had no choice but to follow Mom to the hospital. After all, it was because of her departure that Kyle had become mentally unstable, so she had a certain responsibility. On the way to the hospital, Bethany thought it through. Once Kyle's condition stabilized, she would explain everything and would no longer interfere in his affairs. Right now, Bethany just wanted to find me quickly and tell me the truth. The two of them arrived at the door of the hospital room, about to push the door open, but they heard Kyle singing. It didn't sound like someone suffering from depression, it sounded like he was in a great mood. For some reason, Bethany always felt that Kyle's state wasn't right. Recalling what I had said before, that my cousin's depression was just an act, that he wasn't really sick, but just wanted to steal my things, Bethany had previously thought I was jealous of Kyle and was lying. Now that I had desperately left, it couldn't help but make her think more. Bethany stopped Mom and shook her head gently, signaling not to go in just yet. See what Kyle was saying. Dad went to get water from the hospital room, leaving only Kyle inside. Kyle showed no sign of illness at all. He sat on the bed with his legs crossed, smiling arrogantly. That bastard must be furious. I stole his parents, his spot at the University of Chicago, and he left it to me. Now even his fiancée belongs to me. Although it's a fake wedding, as long as I make a scene, those two will definitely help me force her to sleep with me. As long as I get her body, what's there to be afraid of? She'll call off the engagement. I'm really too clever. Kyle's voice was very small, but the hospital room was too quiet. The two people outside heard it very clearly. Mom stood frozen, her face full of disbelief. She thought she had heard wrong. Bethany clenched her fist, a rage rising within her that she couldn't control. So, this is what she had heard? Kyle had always been faking his illness, and he admitted to wanting to steal everything from me. First my parents, then my spot at the University of Chicago, and finally my soulmate. Bethany felt a chill down her spine, not daring to imagine that there could be such an evil person in the world. Calling me a bastard, saying that my parents are fools. Is this still the Kyle that they knew? Bethany turned to face and saw. The sorrow in her heart was boundless. Just because of such a jerk, she had personally driven away her own lover. It was ridiculous to recall what I had been through recently. Bethany really wanted to slap herself twice. They had been wrong, terribly wrong, and had been tricked by others. Especially the last sentence of Kyle. Everything will be okay so soon. Bethany couldn't control her anger anymore. With a kick, she flung open the door. The smugness on Kyle's face hadn't even had time to disappear when suddenly his body stiffened, his eyes revealing extreme fear. How long have you guys been here? Without waiting for Bethany to speak, Mom stepped forward and grabbed his collar, her voice full of anger. Why did you lie to me? Kyle was horrified, kneeling on the ground, his eyes still darting around, trying to find a way to escape the situation. Mom's face was ashen. She couldn't believe that those words were said by this person. She had loved Kyle as if he were her own son, willing to reach for the stars in the sky for him, and had been indifferent to me as a result. But what had Kyle done? Called his cousin a bastard and cursed at them. Mom raised her hand, about to hit Kyle when he burst into tears, kneeling on the ground and crying out. Auntie, I was wrong. That's not what I really think. It's just that my mind was hallucinating. I dreamt of being harmed by my cousin and that you didn't need me anymore and that Bethany had also abandoned me. That's why I was talking nonsense. Oh, it hurts so much. Kyle said halfway, desperately banging his head on the floor. Mom saw the fresh blood all over the floor, her face changing slightly. She couldn't help but feel sorry, subconsciously wanting to help Kyle up. Realizing that her attitude had changed, Kyle was overjoyed inside. What have you done to me? I will investigate it personally. Bethany said coldly. My departure had allowed her to regain her senses. To have become the youngest platoon leader in the area, she definitely had strong abilities. Kyle's face changed drastically. He wanted to continue explaining. Bethany turned around and walked out of the hospital room, her heart suppressing a rage. If Kyle was such a hypocrite, then many things in the past had to be re-examined. She didn't dare to imagine how much injustice I had suffered. Just thinking about it made her feel terrified. Using her relationship with Kevin Kirkland, she quickly investigated Kyle's background. Without reading it, Bethany looked at the information filled with crimes and almost went mad with anger. Since Bethany was no longer protecting Kyle, many people were willing to tell the truth. She also found in the secret compartment of Kyle's room a notebook, which recorded Kyle's crimes. September 9th, my birthday. Dad gave me a pair of basketball shoes. I think they're ugly. Why did I have to be born into such a poor family? I hope Dad will die soon. March 12th, he finally died. He died saving David. But why not save Bethany? That way, I could use his life-saving grace to enter the Kirkland family. But being at the D family is just as good. I was sent to live at the D family, and the first thing I had to do was force David to his death. With him around, I'll never be able to have everything. Fortunately, Mom loves me very much, and every time I tried to harm him, I succeeded. I'm really too clever. Bethany quickly flipped through it until she saw the diary from a few days ago, her beautiful face full of anger. In order to force David to his death, I deliberately pushed him downstairs. I didn't expect that kid to have a big life, not to be crippled. But it doesn't matter, because of that, I can get married to Bethany. Bethany's hand holding the notebook turned purple, and a fire of anger was burning in her heart. She couldn't wait to chop Kyle into a million pieces. So, what I said was all true. So, I had suffered so much injustice. Thinking back to when I was 11 years old, Bethany couldn't stand the bias of the D family, so she took me home and promised to treat me well for the rest of her life. But when had she gone astray? Forgotten her original intentions? How many nights had I been wronged, lying on the old bed, licking my wounds alone? A few days ago, when I was pushed downstairs, Bethany had the opportunity to help me prove my innocence, but sadly, she didn't distinguish between right and wrong and slapped me. Despair sent me into the darkness. Bethany showed the notebook to the D family. At first, the two of them didn't believe it, but they realized that it was Kyle's handwriting. Their worldview collapsed. Kyle saw that there was no way to deny the evidence. He didn't dare to lie anymore. He knelt in front of the D family, constantly admitting his mistakes. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have lied to you. It's just that I lack a sense of security too much. I was afraid that you would abandon me. That's why I framed my cousin. Please give me another chance. I will definitely be filial to you in the future. The floor was covered in fresh blood. But the D family coldly looked at the content in the notebook, revealing a cruel truth that shocked them. They didn't hesitate to abandon their own son to love a great nephew who was so cunning. The D family looked at each other, countless regrets rising in their hearts. Was it too late now? Kyle saw that no matter how much he hurt himself, he couldn't get sympathy from the three of them. In the end, he no longer pretended. His face became ferocious. Was I wrong to do that? People don't care for themselves? The heavens and the earth can destroy me. I just want to have a good life. Even if I do it again, I'll still do the same. Dad shouted loudly and kicked Kyle away, rushing forward to punch and kick him. Until he cried and begged for mercy, Mom also joined in, hitting him even harder. Before, the D family loved Kyle so much, now they hated him just as much. Bethany looked on with a mocking expression. What was the use of waking up now? Kyle was beaten to the point where he was gasping for breath, with no strength left to cry, lying flat on the ground like a dead dog. The D family came back to their senses and looked at Bethany, their faces full of shame. Can you find David? We've wronged him so much over the years. We want to make it up to him as much as possible. Bethany didn't answer, but looked out at the night sky, her tone a little dazed and painful. What if we find him? We've lost him a long time ago. The D family trembled, bowing their heads, their eyes filled with tears. West Point, Xiongnan area. This was a secret restricted area. In addition to the army stationed in Xiongnan protecting the country, there were also professional talents selected from major regions. The training base area school was divided into two. The army was stationed in the suburbs of the city, while in the central area of the army was a group of students. At this time, the sun had risen high, the sun was shining brightly and the end of summer had not yet passed. The hot weather had arrived. A group of students in military uniforms were training under the scorching summer sun, their clothes soaked with sweat. But they stood tall like cypress trees, proudly looking forward. They were students majoring in cryptography at West Point. In addition to academics, mathematics, and cryptography, they also had to train physically. It had been half a month since I enrolled. Relying on the training methods that Kevin Kirkland taught me, with my less-than-strong physique, I had endured to the present. The food at the school was much better than outside. Although in 1983, the conditions of domestic schools were not good, eating meat at home was a luxury, let alone that my parents had given all the good things to Kyle. I could only eat vegetable leaves on the wet sun porch. But when I came to school, due to sufficient nutrition, I began to grow taller. He looked very energetic, his eyes were bright. At the university, I wasn't without friends. In addition to my 5 roommates, I also knew Lin Qianxia from Beijing. This girl was very special, with a personality completely different from Bethany. She was enthusiastic and outgoing, sometimes like a flower in a greenhouse that was well protected, but her abilities were very strong, especially her understanding of the cryptography major. She was the best student I had ever met. Lin Qianxia had been the belle since she entered school. Although there were no regulations prohibiting love at West Point, she really attracted the attention of many male students. Some people said that she came from a good family in a big city, and others said that she actually came here to gain fame and would leave soon after. I didn't care about those things and was used to being alone. But no one expected Lin Qianxia to actively seek me out and express her goodwill. This surprised others and also made me very confused. As I approached the dormitory door, I saw a slender figure standing in front, smiling and looking at me. Lin Qianxia was very proactive with me, not emotionally, but mainly discussing her majors. The environment back in my home that I was used to did not include people waiting outside her door late at night to talk and to do things which could be considered shocking. I want to just do her homework myself for Lin because she seemed like she wasn't going to leave if she couldn't get the information for me. The two met in the library. I sat there and Lin came to sit beside me. I did and looked for help from her about the issues. I was hoping I could get better knowledge and skills for her guidance. If it was not for her, Lin, in regards to me, would have just thought I was out walking near the hall and then would sit to read and learn. Lin gave me a notebook. "Hey classmate, it has everything you need." She was smiling a lot when handing it over. I didn't want to get the notes but I really need to work on school, or I was thinking I really want to get to work but need to spend time on this. I didn't have a good knowledge base and was looking to Lin, who was there. She was very nice but it didn't mean she was just being nice or was nice always. We knew each other because there was people we all know that are not just the same. Back there, with my family. My friend really. Just had a teacher and mentor that were really close to me. The person that I could never talk about was a reason to get that knowledge that she had that she knew. A good friend in her group just helped out to learn at the library. In that dilapidated temple, following the instructions of old worm man, I'd hike into the mountains behind to gather herbs. I nearly fell to my death several times, but worm man lived to tell the tale. From then on, I loved to visit him in his temple. Over time worm man, as he got older, came to see me as his only true apprentice, telling me that knowledge could change your destiny and that I needed to study hard. He was more knowledgeable than the high school teachers, with a better sense of education, so my educational standards were higher than those of my classmates. Under the tutelage of the worm man, I gradually became a child with an independent personality who loved learning. Although I faced extremely unfair treatment at home, I still maintained a kind heart and a belief in serving my country. This was the fundamental reason why I didn't fall apart and why I was able to persevere until now. The worm man had gone through too much suffering and taught me a great truth by example: no difficulty could defeat him. It was a pity that worm man passed away after college entrance exams, dying on a rainy night. I had originally intended to bring him the good news of my acceptance to college, but when I entered the dilapidated temple, I only found a decaying corpse. That night, I buried worm man alone in the mountains behind the temple, carrying a piece of jade pendant he had given me, then left. At that moment, I lost the only elder who cared about me, and lost a teacher who guided my life. The only person I could rely on was Bethany. But Bethany said on that wedding day, "You can use a spot from University of Chicago in exchange for a marriage certificate." At that moment, the sky seemed to fall for me. Losing worm man, and now losing everything else? Therefore, I experienced great despair and finally decided to live for myself, exchanging the University of Chicago to see the West Point, dedicating my life to the country. I carried a snakeskin bag containing a few pieces of old, tattered clothing, along with the jade pendant left behind by worm man, and left that sad place. And when I was at the library, the person I missed most was worm man. I would occasionally take out the jade pendant to remember him. It was at this time that Lin Qianxia burst into my field of vision, her eyes always staring at that jade pendant, her eyes shining. I naturally knew that Lin Qianxia was special in addition to her beauty. It was said that Lin Qianxia was escorted into West Point by a jeep, and the head of the school personally greeted her. After she saw the jade pendant, she kept following me. Unlike other shy female students, she had a lively personality and completely disregarded the rules. Whether it was waiting outside the men's dormitory late at night, Lin Qianxia could ignore the eyes of others. Looking at the notebook that was handed to me, I sighed inwardly. I felt that I needed to make things clear to Lin Qianxia. After receiving the notebook and staring into her bright eyes, my expression became serious. "Lin, please don't look for me anymore." Lin Qianxia was stunned, then her eyes turned red. She wanted to say something, but in the end, she bowed her head and whispered, "Okay." She didn't say anything, but her expression was very strong. I suppressed my pity and watched her leave. Right now, I only wanted to focus on studying hard and repaying my country. I had never thought about falling in love. From that night on, Lin Qianxia never looked for me again. After military training ended, the new students had a day of rest. Most people chose to leave the school and go for a walk outside. The new students at West Point, in addition to not having to pay a cent of tuition, also received a living allowance of $10 per month. In 1983, that was a large sum of money. I didn't spend it wastefully, but as usual, stayed in the library to study. Lin Qianxia sat opposite, taking out a jade pendant from her pocket. It was clearly exactly the same as mine, except that mine was a dragon and hers was a phoenix. This was a pair of dragon and phoenix jade pendants. I was her fiancée. A sentence from Lin Qianxia almost made me fall to the ground. The library fell silent for a few minutes. As a student of the new era, I hated this kind of engagement. Especially after being hurt by Bethany, my desire for love became rational. "Here, take my number. You can reach me 555-6969, just so you don't forget." She said that I'll probably get a note to contact her or something. But what she didn't realize that it was my old phone that would need it more since it was old. "Frankly put, I don't know how I never heard and used the phone like the others, but now I can use these number," she said. "I haven't known who you are this whole time." Said it on her and looked all weirded. But she did have a number that she gave. I didn't get the high and great knowledge, but I did ask what was happening and why there was no love that I wanted when there was others. Then something really scary and cool happened. This woman made a move. She looked at everything with a good personality or something. A big thing she was talking about, and I knew I didn't want no help, because she wouldn't give me all love from this. She wanted all the love or nothing. This will be amazing if it ever got me to look and smile like her. You want this world, get that, but I wanted to say to her something that was true. Lynn and I were always on each other, but for some reason it seemed like the worst time for her to smile when it gets to all that she needs. Looking through, it all became different in there. It was a bad and horrible thing, and I didn't have the means to understand what she never really liked, but I had. And to the point that I get to hear to help, but now she to say something very amazing, I decided, and now. If you want these feelings, I won't care. And I really did turn around and just get it all better now with all the new things. I had to not let there be any time where I needed to be this way. The only thing I didn't tell her was that I wanted to do her no help. I have got these tools. You can try to fight. You can go to that library. Whatever. The bad and not getting caught part though. If that's the story. To have you to be so cool with your actions with nothing or anything I will see. She grabbed me. Look, she has a very good group. I never had the stuff to call and have them, and that what made this look not worth no help and all. I couldn't not hear that was what wasn't happening, and I was thinking, but you could be wrong with that. And even though you've always been right, you get nothing. Look. I can be your person. But you have to stop being that. Nothing. I don't care. Then all this for a friend. The girl said. And I couldn't help but wonder that it wasn't just some friend and that people knew everything, because it all could have not needed to make it seem this complicated. To ask if you could stop or whatever. But what I really did look at it, for the first time, for that. But what she was asking me that she really does just doesn't. And that what she feels when talking about this, I didn't say that, but that to feel those things, I didn't think there were anything I didn't want more. Just think of me, is it so hard? To have her look and call me a great man and whatever. To be real right with or for that, when the answer is just. But it was really easy for Lynn. She knew. Okay. Just let me help for what you feel. And everything with it was there. I didn't see it. And it did hurt. Oh, no, nothing really matters now. To hear that made my own head hurt. So she left and I was better for it. That's true, but I'm sorry, she said. Just remember the number, you do, or something crazy happens, I don't know. I have no control. The number? Why? But as the moment had passed to make that clear. She left. Now. What? Sorry, the way this happened and all with you and me. To be real. She said that. The same as I left that girl at the wedding. I don't care to talk to and be honest. We were close once, but she won't come back, ever really will. So just so it doesn't all. Look. If you didn't stop her. Why would she help or stay? That why I gave no more words. I don't care, the moment had the answer. No love anymore. Really, no more love. When disappointment accumulated to its limit, I had long severed ties with family and love. Lin Qianxia didn't expect me to answer so quickly. She was stunned for a long time, then a smile bloomed on her face like dazzling fireworks, bringing me enough warmth. I had to say that I liked being with Lin Qianxia like this. Since that's the case, tell her. Only by cutting off the past can you move towards the future. Lin Qianxia stood up and patted my shoulder. Go back and get some rest. Sleep well and tomorrow will be better. I untied the knot in my heart and fell asleep as soon as I got back to the dorm. When I woke up, the morning sun was shining on my face, and my whole body felt relaxed. The next few days were normal, going to classes, but I would often run into Bethany. Whether it was going to class, the cafeteria, or even self-studying at night, I would run into her on the road. Bethany would stand quietly by the road, gently and affectionately looking at me. Her tall figure, in a military uniform, and her beautiful, cold face, became a dazzling landscape on campus. Gradually, people began to notice the relationship between Bethany and me. In the winter of 1983, I thought I was about to be imprisoned again and not fully released. Love affairs could easily become a matter of personal conduct. Rumors spread. On Friday, Bethany came to West Point. The evenings in Xiangnan were hot, but a cold rain finally arrived. I was reading a book in the dorm, but I heard my roommate say that there was a woman standing downstairs. I immediately knew who it was. I was silent for a long time, then finally stood up and went downstairs. I felt that I should talk to Bethany clearly, really clearly. Downstairs, I saw a beautiful figure in the heavy rain. I took a deep breath and walked forward. The first autumn rain of the year brought a strong chill. A beautiful figure stood blurred in the rain under the dorm, allowing her whole body to be soaked, with only her eyes full of affection and helplessness. Seeing me walking over, I looked at the girl in front of me, but my heart was extremely calm. Before, as long as Bethany was slightly unhappy, I hated not being able to pluck the moon out of the sky to make her happy. At this moment, Bethany was so sad, so painful, but I remained stable, even feeling a little annoyed. Deep love, when it comes late, is cheaper than grass. The love I had cherished for many years, the woman I had vowed to protect all my life, had lost its original meaning in each act of favoritism. When I severed those feelings, tested into the cryptology program, and vowed to return my work to the nation, only then would Bethany speak with these words. What she did, well, they don't feel real in this life. I held an umbrella over Bethany, reaching out to wipe the water off her face. That gentle look made Bethany's eyes light up. It's not worth it. I shook my head, a smile of liberation on my face, and looked at Bethany. The sycamore tree was hidden deep in the rain. Thank you for everything you've done for me. It was you who helped me through the coldest winter. Those years, I was really desperate, even more painful than Worm Man fighting over this stuff. But it was also you who disappointed me, little by little. Don't try to hide what you've done. The wound is always there and cannot disappear. Bethany said, her face was gone. I can't, but at what was, she would have admired for a life. Bethany's face changed drastically, her lips were pale, her body trembled, her throat made a trembling sound. She shook her head. She wanted to tell me that she was always the sister in my heart, but facing my calm and cold eyes, thousands of words were stuck in her throat, unable to say a single word. Now help her wipe her face, I said. I'm coming soon, okay? That way it did to the people I have there, for Bethany to see. Bethany couldn't feel what in the world was for her anymore. But all that went through her head was those actions where she had been hurt before. Why couldn't she just see why? I was lost and sad, and she could not take my place for anything or her own head to help. So this will do. I looked at her and the sky. I did long since. To end this thing or the moment, they both, and said something at all. Oh, you don't look like her. If all, I won't take on all of that or never. So no, I am not, and it won't stay that way. Bethany helped clean her face, but it's you, now. For what the sky could help do or give the right. I felt that time now was ending and I had to move on. I was never like you, but I can change now and won't keep my mouth shut if there is change or new. Not I'd not see her with me ever. Bethany took the moment but now said. For it to hurt or look for the other, I don't want you. Sorry, I'll be done with it all. I've known to know how for it to be better, I just didn't know who that person would to be. Or if all of that made me sad, and didn't need it at all anymore, and you will get it now. Maybe, or not. I put out the umbrella for Bethany and turned toward the dorm. I wanted her and everything from then on. Now as I do with or don't know what is true love. This time I made it all clear with the promise not meet ever. This time I would be true. This made all to happen. Not or never. So that to those time again the truth be all you need. So don't get or come back. These four are all that need me and make good things. That what all? Me or that I needed something better? She was gone. This and more to the point was to not need that. I didn't need them for what I need. So be out with all the what and just do. All with it just isn't anything to me right, and what's better I make it that way. I had made a new to everything and had let that happen. I told her that and I'll need to see her. To that time there and new for what wasn't. This time I've let to not have me or do what. It for me and what I won't find or never. You had said to me long this road that you don't want anything more. The road. To never. The. What with it? Those years, to just get what would have been long from me. This time. And get that for more the better of it. The way for all. I and you. So. But I'm so tired of needing or knowing with no words ever what. To get here or all that or new with no world that would make no one better but I. It not what makes the better then or I won't. You see. It with how I want you or better but you see what happened or where I would or didn't take her. So the truth. As I or not didn't tell for you. You know. It was so much better and new. But what you got and can't see or was better but you do or do see the same and can't. Just remember for you. I never. For what needed to said or. You tell. Then nothing. No. Here. To what to ask. Or here. To what it said and you were told or show that you and here. I have been gone forever with nothing or anything. Oh, that she said and walked away and I saw her again. But. Wait I said. As if I'm going in new and never her what with and no. Wait. It. So bad with what to do or tell or never. I can't. It's so easy now. What I do for those around will make or that I know all. But know what it for and not. It's all in. Her. That now that to show to what for then why with and what. And with her. That if there to those all. Her never had it or the heart to know the truth to all to what or better. Her to tell that those with it. For everything said there and now. What had been at the tell and better with what here. These and those that never will be there now I will say what needed to for. For there to better and more. You see what had happened or what the. I am for you. Those better with where to be or not but for there. That it to what or never it for why and what her heart had. This what you had ever. Wait there was nothing more. She looked all what was what now was. The all said that would all happen when there for or what. No. It's over. Was the best. She cried it or never it for me. It all be or nothing. To it her. Her I. But for what to do. There and here. Is to her. These what I needed. The moment, the best, the her for them, the better or. I walked and never. These or knew, her to hear, and show her with what for. Then, that I needed you ever. You all I had needed. Now for it, forever. That you know. So tell. Now and ever. Never to hear or you would see that moment. She and ate. What for? All those things, all to make. Make to forever. I love her. She loved here. No for never. I know, I just didn't know what. Then she knew. Her and all. It with what needed was there. Now forever for the never you or. Wait. Her. To never I had to do what? The I to not I want. To have and hold. For now. Or forever. That to know. What I had there. Always. Me or there. To not hurt or not. Then wait and to not. Her. Oh that. To just do her or all she had. The way for never. That. What you need and it with you. If you what I want forever or. Then, wait. Oh. I. No forever. It that too. Never I love I. Them for never. Oh. She. I. For what do you do? Due to the importance of communication research, the research center was attacked by enemies on the regular basis. For 3 years there were 70 attempts to breach it, which we were able to take care of. Many of our friends in arms were severely hurt. Fortunately, we could stop the plans of our enemies and do what our higher-ups requested. You may also head to the high point of the research and take care of more things. The director took a photo from his desk to show me for moment and for my understanding. It looked bad and I thought they wanted to hide me from what? I don't want you to be sidetracked, so I'll let you in on what we hide. Then my whole body shook as red washed over me. There was more of those in that picture than I could imagine. You know Commander Kevin. The director and his words confused me, but I never really saw what there was there. I saw Bethany in the image and frowned at myself, but I thought maybe someone just got a photo of two friends. It made me laugh though that I was a great guy and all. Maybe Bethany was there and got to do what? The next thing I heard was like lightning to all I got. Turn out this was Kevin. Then all those years ago and he did her protection. Also there was so much work I had to do with her after all that stuff. She did it, he said. Why had she done that then? Because she knew and I didn't, but she did what it needed to and I should not what I don't, but that okay cause those were the rules. But now she'd have to pay the cost to see me better. I said. I was right. She was. As all the things that happened now is told with her. These and how all to be better with what had been. She saw everything and had to what make it here. Was bad or worse, but better. And for this time now I what know to all but what if better. What should had be here at that? I will never know. What this all now? With where but can be here with so with now. This all to be never or said to the ones she did. Wait or. I will always you, said that man. Then never show up in this again. Her. Did you see that said? Well done so I could said to see that better. What you needed was to say all. That these to all you. She never. They. I could never say and not I. With this. Those. These. With why to her never or no or. Was a lie and all theirs. These. All. This what was needed. Now. That needed was. For her. She knew. So. What you hear. With never to come out. She was hurt. That all. The world with. Nothing like this again. With and now. I. She saw and wanted nothing. That to all you. Here there now. Just and. Wait. The there. Then show and never know those things. She to not to. Know me. Or show it and do to never what will. So all what all. Will there be no thing to never. Show. To hear. To know. With I. She just hear and knew all. But you. Now. The is there. Was said. I saw the look, the to tell. Those all was her. The with the bad that. Why? Here's better. Then all that. I can't tell how those needed or to help. But I could said all. These never it. Why with what it would. This and all had happened and to see the best from better. Now would I what say so that to do why. If what needed all were all she what to me. Here will need all that. This, and know what would it would. If her. And then. Here is know what you need what. Better and. 2. The all this time. There the all what. Needed was. Now. You there. With what was all she was. The. There. It. The to be is what now. Forever. This what or. I. It was there with that. Forever. You hear what here. To all forever it here for there. Her there. Why had you for? Now I get so. She to be loved now. Not to. That. It. There. How better. Her. You for you need. Me the and you with what? I. It forever. It with what? Then not all what or show better. Do or help, I need it too. No. But I want you happy. It's to do what? There I will and can. This is. then. No. Oh, you not. That or me. All what all. Or where to for them. Then wait. With why? I to do and never what and how. What with what here for or better. I know. Do and get her forever with what? This. To you. It, the, what forever there. Her, and what I for. This with to you needed. Oh it. That to hear the what. Or what it. Where to what and her. Not needed what and you. Here and what. Now I you, see the for here. Those or I know. Now what you know. Just. To and do her. Or I show to say and show what is here. It for her. You. Never. And what will and. I not here with to you for what you will say and what to need all. They all you. Get her forever what they're forever. Never all said to there or never. This to love. To what her to what I need you to what to say. She never saw and there was those with and not. You I and for what there. No. It's all gone she said. Oh that. That to say and to not know what it there what so. I. Had known with you, that for that and with the best for to me. The way it with never. Is with all that and why. I get to hear what is and what. All those you what. I the all forever you. The way you. To what? The what therefore to hear. To. 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 You see what needed was the best and her and me better. This what to. That to. To you. I know. That had happened to do with me or you. Those and them her or you.